The battlefield was still burning when Evan Hawley opened his eyes. He felt dust in his mouth, blood on his forehead, and a heavy pain in his ribs. For a moment, he forgot where he was. Then the memory returned like a sharp knife. His squad, the explosion, the screams, the chaos. Now everything around him was silent except for the soft crackling of fire eating through broken metal. Evan pushed himself up slowly. His legs shook and his vision blurred. He took a deep breath and tried to stay awake. He was a human soldier, trained for war, trained to face anything. But the stillness after destruction always felt strange to him, like the world had stopped breathing. He picked up his rifle from the dirt, even though he did not feel strong enough to use it. Smoke was everywhere. Ruined machines, shattered armor, and fallen soldiers lay across the burnt ground. It was impossible to tell who was human and who was alien. Everything looked the same in death. He took one step forward, and then he heard it. A weak sound. A soft crying noise. It was so light that he almost thought it was in his head, a ghost of someone he lost. But then he heard it again, clearer, trembling, a child. Evan's heartbeat changed. Children should not be anywhere near a battlefield. He followed the sound carefully, pushing aside bits of metal and stone. His boots crunched on glass and broken armor plates. The sound grew louder, more desperate, behind a fallen beam of blackened steel. He saw something move. He lowered his rifle instantly when he understood what it was. A small child lay there, curled into a shaking ball, covered in ash. Her skin was blue, her eyes silver like wet metal, and faint golden marks glowed on her arms. 2 tiny horn-like ridges rose from her head. She was not human. She was Vetheri. Evan froze. His breath caught in his chest. A Vetheri child was the worst thing for a human soldier to find. The Vetheri Empire and Earth had been at war for 10 long years. Both sides had lost countless people. Evan had lost friends. He had lost brothers. He had seen what Vetheri weapons did to human cities. And now, right in front of him, was one of their children, weak, wounded, helpless. The child looked up at him with tear-filled eyes. She tried to crawl back, but her leg was injured. Her tiny voice shook as she tried to speak. Please. Help. Her English was broken, but those 2 words were clear. Evan's hands trembled. The right thing, the soldier's thing, the expected thing, would be to walk away and report her. Maybe even end her suffering. The war had made men do worse, but this wasn't a soldier. This wasn't a threat. This was a scared little girl, no older than 6 or 7. Crying in the ashes of a battle she never asked for. His rifle slipped from his hand and fell to the ground. Evan moved slowly, carefully, making sure she knew he wasn't coming to hurt her. It's okay, he whispered. His voice was gentle even though his heart felt heavy. I won't hurt you. The girl stared at him with wide eyes. She didn't understand why a human soldier wasn't attacking. She didn't understand why he was kneeling beside her. But she didn't pull away when he reached out. What's your name? Evan asked softly. For a moment she didn't answer. Then she whispered, Leary. He nodded. Leary, you're hurt. I'm going to help you, okay? She blinked, and another tear fell. Human. You enemy. I know, he said quietly. But you're a child. And I don't hurt children. His words sank into her slowly, like she was testing them inside her fragile heart. Her small fingers moved, shaking, and touched his hand. It was such a tiny gesture, but it changed everything. Evan took off his jacket and wrapped it around her small body. He lifted the metal beam trapping her legs and carefully picked her up. She gasped in pain, but she didn't pull away. She held onto his shirt like he was the only safe thing left in the world. Evan stood, holding her close. He could feel her heartbeat against his chest, fast, afraid, alive. He looked around at the burning ruins. The war had taken so much already. But he wouldn't let it take her too. Don't worry, he whispered to her. I've got you. I'll keep you safe. And in that moment, a simple human soldier made a choice that would change the fate of 2 worlds. Evan carried Leary through the ruins, moving slowly and carefully. Her small body was weak, her breathing shallow, and every step reminded him of the danger around them. Smoke still swirled through the shattered buildings, and the distant thrum of engines told him that soldiers, human or Vetheri, could appear at any moment. Yet, for the first time since the battle began, Evan felt a strange purpose. He had someone to protect. Someone who depended entirely on him. He found an abandoned bunker behind a crumbled wall, its door hanging off rusty hinges. Inside, it smelled of damp metal and old dust, but it was sheltered from the wind and fire. Evan laid Leary gently on the floor and wrapped her in his jacket. He knelt beside her, inspecting her injuries. Scratches, burns, bruises, all small, but on a child so young, every wound felt enormous. "I'll fix you up," he whispered, more to convince himself than her. He tore a piece of his shirt and cleaned a cut on her arm, the fabric darkening with blood. Leary flinched but didn't cry. Her tiny hand, blue against his skin, clutched his sleeve as if he were the only anchor in the world. Evan sighed and looked at her face. Silver eyes stared at him, wide and scared. He knew the Vetheri weren't humans. Their voices, their weapons, their ways of fighting, it had taken him years to understand them. And yet, here she was, a child, no different from the children he had seen in villages bombed by war. She only wanted to live. "What are you?" Leary whispered, her voice trembling. "You help me?" "I'm human," Evan said softly. "And I'm not going to let anything happen to you." Leary's small lips quivered. "Enemy, why help me?" "My people, they hate you." Evan shook his head slowly. "Not every human hates. Not every soldier. I fight because of orders, yes. But children, they don't deserve this. Not anyone your age." Her eyes softened, a glimmer of trust growing amidst fear. For a moment, she looked like a child who had forgotten the war outside. "Leary," he said gently, "I need you to promise me something." "What?" she asked, her voice tiny, almost lost in the shadows. "You have to try to stay calm," he said. "I'll carry you if you're too tired. I'll keep you safe. But you have to let me help. Can you do that?" She hesitated, then nodded slowly. "Yes. Human. I try, that's all I ask." He gave a faint smile. "You're stronger than you know." The bunker was quiet except for the soft whimpers of Leary's breathing and the distant echoes of war outside. Evan sat beside her, keeping one hand on her shoulder, the other on the floor for balance. He thought of the people he had lost, friends, comrades, families. He thought of the orders he had followed without question. And now, holding this small alien child in his arms, he understood a truth that had always been too hard to see in war. Protecting life was more important than following orders. "Will Mother find me?" Leary asked suddenly, her voice breaking. Evan looked down at her, feeling a pang of sorrow. "She will," he said firmly. "I'll get you back to her. I promise." "Promise?" Her silver eyes searched his, afraid he might break it. "I promise," he repeated. "I will not leave you. I will not let anything hurt you." She let out a small sigh, relaxing against his chest. For a moment, the fear in her eyes melted away, replaced by something like hope. Evan held her tighter, feeling a strange warmth in his chest. It was not just protection. It was responsibility, trust, and something deeper he didn't yet understand. Time passed slowly. The light outside dimmed as the sun disappeared behind the smoke-filled sky. Evan kept a watchful eye on the bunker entrance while keeping Leary warm. He whispered stories to her about Earth, about forests, about children playing in places untouched by war. Leary listened quietly, her breathing slowing as the words wrapped around her like a blanket. Before sleep took them both, she whispered, almost too softly to hear, "Thank you, human. You, my hero?" Evan smiled faintly, pressing a gentle kiss to her forehead. "I'm no hero," he said. "I'm just keeping my promise." And in the darkness of that ruined world, two unlikely souls rested side by side, one a soldier broken by war, the other a child torn from her home, but both finding a small, fragile light in each other. For Evan, that light was a promise. He would risk everything to see her safe. No army, no empire, no war could take that away. And for Leary, that light was a human soldier who had chosen kindness over hate, and in doing so, changed her life forever. Evan woke before dawn. Leary was still asleep, curled against his chest, tiny arms wrapped around him. Her breathing was quiet now, steadier than yesterday. He looked at her small, peaceful face, and felt a surge of determination. They could not stay in the bunker. Soldiers, human or Vetheri, would soon search every ruin. He had to move, and fast. He gently lifted her and wrapped her in his jacket again, making sure she stayed warm. She stirred but didn't wake, trusting him enough to remain still. Evan carried her outside, scanning the horizon. The ruins stretched for miles, smoke rising like black rivers into the sky, distant fires flickering like warning lights. The path ahead was dangerous. This was deep into Vetheri territory. Every step could bring patrols, every shadow could hide enemies. Yet Evan did not hesitate. He had made a promise, and he intended to keep it. Hours passed as he moved cautiously through broken villages and empty fields. Leary finally woke, rubbing her eyes and looking around at the desolation. "Where are we?" she whispered. "Somewhere safe. Or at least safer than before," Evan said, trying to make his voice calm. "We are moving. We have to keep going." Her tiny hand reached for his. Scared. "I know," he said softly. "I'm scared too. But you're not alone. I'm right here." The first danger appeared when he spotted a Vethery patrol ahead. 5 soldiers, armor glinting under the weak sunlight, scanning the area. Evan froze, holding Leary close. The soldiers had not seen them yet. He had a choice, run or hide. He lowered her behind a ruined wall, pressing her to the ground. Her breathing was rapid. "I can't move," she whispered. "You don't have to," Evan said, brushing hair from her face. "I've got you." He peeked around the wall and spotted a narrow alley between destroyed buildings. Carefully, slowly, he moved forward, keeping Leary pressed to his chest. A soldier turned suddenly. Evan froze. The soldier's silver eyes scanned the ruins, just meters away. Time stretched. The patrol paused, then moved on. Leary let out a shaky sigh. "You saved me," she whispered. Evan smiled faintly. "That's what I do." They continued, moving in silence for hours. Evan found small streams to give her water, shared a little of his ration food, and carried her whenever the terrain became too rough. Each step felt heavier than the last, but he refused to let fatigue stop him. That evening, they found shelter in an abandoned farmhouse. The roof was half collapsed, the windows shattered, but it kept out the wind. Evan set Leary down gently, letting her rest while he checked the perimeter. "Do you hate my people?" Leary asked suddenly, her voice small and uncertain. Evan paused. He had expected anger, fear, even disgust. But her question came from innocence, from a child who didn't understand the world yet. "No," he said finally. "I don't hate children. And I don't hate someone who is just trying to live. Not you, Leary." Her eyes shone faintly in the dim light. She reached for his hand. "You my friend?" "I am," he said. "I'm your friend, and I'll keep you safe until your mother finds you." Night fell. They huddled together on the dusty floor, Evan wrapping his jacket around both of them. Outside, distant gunfire and explosions reminded him that the war had not ended, that death could come at any moment. But inside that small farmhouse, there was a fragile moment of peace. Evan whispered stories to Leary about forests with birds singing, fields of flowers, and oceans with waves like silver. Leary listened, eyes heavy with sleep, slowly forgetting the fire and death around them. For a moment, she was just a child again, laughing quietly at his silly voices for the animals. He watched her sleep and thought about the risks he had taken. Every human soldier would call him a traitor if they knew he carried a Vethery princess. Every Vethery soldier would kill him on sight. And yet, he did not regret a single step. She was alive. That was enough. He pressed a hand to her small back, feeling her heartbeat against his own. "We'll get through this," he whispered. "We'll make it. I promise." For Evan, it was no longer about orders, missions, or loyalty to a flag. It was about protecting life, one fragile, innocent life. And for Leary, it was the first time she felt that humans could be more than enemies. They could be guardians, heroes, even friends. And so as the wind howled outside and the distant fires burned, they rested. 2 souls alone in a hostile world, bound together by trust, courage, and a promise that would change everything. Evan and Leary had been moving for days, traveling through forests, abandoned towns, and broken roads. Evan's arms ached from carrying her, and his body was bruised and scraped from the ruins. Yet, he never let himself slow. Every time Leary stumbled or cried out, he held her tighter and whispered, "I've got you. We'll be okay." On the 7th night, they found themselves on the edge of a wide valley. The sky glowed with purple light, strange and beautiful, unlike anything Evan had ever seen. He froze, sensing danger before it arrived. The air vibrated with a strange energy, and the ground trembled lightly beneath his boots. Leary clung to him instinctively, her silver eyes wide with fear. "Human." "What is that?" she whispered. Evan's heart pounded. He had no answer, only a warning. He ducked behind a pile of rubble, holding her close to his chest. From the sky, a massive Vethery dropship descended, its engines roaring like thunder. The ground shook as it landed gracefully in the open field below. Dozens of armored warriors poured out, their weapons glowing with blue plasma. Their eyes, sharp and cold, searched the ruins. Evan stiffened. They were surrounded. There was nowhere to run. Every instinct screamed for him to fight or flee, but he held Leary closer. She looked up at him, trembling. They will kill us," she whispered. "Not if we stay calm," Evan said. "I won't let them hurt you." The warrior's leader stepped forward. Tall, imposing, her armor gleaming with silver light that seemed almost alive. Even the soldiers around her instinctively lowered their weapons. The figure moved with power and grace, and every step seemed to command the earth itself. Queen Sereth of the Vetheri. Evan's breath caught. He had heard stories of her ruthless, brilliant, feared across galaxies. Now she stood before him, looking at Leary with eyes that pierced through his very soul. "You," the queen said, her voice cold but controlled. "Human, why is my child in your arms?" Evan's throat went dry. He raised his hands slowly. "I found her wounded. She needed help. I couldn't leave her. I couldn't hurt her." Leary gasped. "Mama, he saved me. He carried me. He protected me." The queen's silver eyes narrowed as she studied Evan. The warriors around her whispered among themselves, astonished that a human soldier had dared to approach the child. "Let alone protect her. You risked your life for her," Queen Sereth said. Her voice low, almost a whisper, but sharp as a blade. "Your people and mine are at war. Any other human would have killed her without hesitation." Evan swallowed. He knew what was coming next, either death or capture. Yet he did not step back. "I didn't do it for your empire," he said quietly. "I did it for her. She's just a child. That's all." Queen Sereth stared at him, her expression unreadable. Then, slowly, she knelt down to be at eye level with him, a gesture no one expected from the mighty queen. The soldiers stiffened, unsure what to do. "You are brave. Human," she said softly, her voice carrying both authority and an unspoken respect. "Few humans would have risked themselves for my daughter. You have honor." Leary stepped closer, holding onto Evan's hand. "Mama, he saved me. Please, keep him safe." Evan's chest tightened. The little girl's trust, pure and innocent, filled him with a strange warmth. He had never expected gratitude, never expected anyone to understand. And yet, here she was, telling the queen that he was more than a soldier, he was a protector. The queen studied him for a long moment. Then, finally, she straightened and addressed the soldiers. "Lower your weapons." The soldiers obeyed immediately, confusion and awe in their eyes. Queen Sereth turned back to Evan. "Human, you have my respect. You risked yourself for a child, and in doing so, you have shown a heart stronger than any warrior I know. I will not harm you." Evan blinked, uncertain he had heard correctly. You're not going to?" "No," she said firmly. "In fact, I want something from you. Your allegiance, not as a prisoner, not as a weapon, but as a guardian. Will you protect my daughter under my command?" Evan's mind raced. Staying meant leaving Earth, leaving everything he knew. It meant trusting the very enemy he had fought against all his life. And yet, he looked down at Leary, asleep against him, trusting him completely. "If I stay," he whispered, "I protect her. That is all I want." Queen Sereth's lips curved slightly in a rare, almost imperceptible smile. "Then that is what you shall do." The valley was silent, except for the whirring of the dropship. For the first time, Evan felt a strange calm. He had survived death, carried a child through enemy territory, and now stood before a queen who recognized his courage. Leary stirred, whispering, "You stay with us?" Evan squeezed her small hand gently. "Yes," he said. "I stay." And in that moment, a soldier who had once been just a man became something more, a protector, a bridge between two worlds, and a symbol of hope for both humans and Vetheri alike. The soldiers' weapons remained lowered, but the tension in the air was thick. Evan stood rigid, holding Leary close. He expected anger, punishment, maybe even death. After all, he was a human, the enemy, and he had dared to carry a Vetheri princess across battlefields filled with war and smoke. Any misstep, and it would be over. Queen Sereth walked slowly around him, her silver eyes sharp and unyielding. Her presence alone made the warriors tremble. Evan kept his gaze forward, unwilling to show fear, though his heart raced. Every step she took seemed deliberate, measured, as if she were weighing the value of a life and that life was his. "You protected my daughter," the queen said at last, her voice low and calm. "Do you understand what that means, human? You risked your life. You could have been killed at any moment. Yet you did not hesitate. Evan swallowed. I did what I had to do, he said quietly. She's just a child. I couldn't leave her. The queen paused, studying him as if seeing deeper than the scars and grime on his face. Then she stopped in front of him. The battlefield around them faded in importance. All that mattered was this moment, this human who had defied everything the Vetheri believed about his kind. Your people will call you a traitor, she said. Mine will call you an outsider, and yet, you chose honor over fear. You chose life over war. Evan's hand tightened around Leary. She clung to him, sensing the importance of the moment. I don't fight for war, he admitted softly. I fight for people. Life, that's all. Not for flags, not for empires. The queen's eyes softened for the briefest moment. She knelt slightly to meet his gaze, a gesture rare for someone of her power. Few humans have hearts like yours, she said. You are not just brave, you are extraordinary. Leary peeked from behind his arm, silver eyes wide. Mama, he is brave. He saved me. Keep him with us, she pleaded. Her small hand reached for the queen, tugging at her sleeve. Queen Sarath's expression softened further. She looked down at the girl, then back at Evan. Your courage has earned you something most warriors never receive, trust. I offer you my protection, human. Not as a prisoner, not as a servant, but as a guardian of my daughter. Will you accept? Evan's mind raced. He thought of home, of the humans who had fought beside him, of everything he had known. Staying with the Vetheri would mean leaving Earth forever. It would mean trusting a race he had spent his life opposing. And yet, he looked down at Leary alive, safe, looking at him with absolute faith. I will protect her, he whispered. That is all I want, Queen Sarath nodded. Her silver armor glinted in the strange purple light of the valley. Then that is what you shall do, she said. From this day forward, you are no longer my enemy. You are a guardian, a protector, and a symbol of hope between our worlds. The soldiers around them lowered their heads in respect. Some could not hide their astonishment. A human soldier had dared what no one else would, and the queen had recognized it. Leary's tiny voice broke the momentary silence. Human, you stay with us? Evan crouched down to her level. Yes, he said gently, brushing hair from her face. I will stay. I will protect you. Her silver eyes shone with relief and trust. Then, we safe? She asked. Evan said. Safe. The queen's gaze lingered on him for a moment longer. Remember this, human, she said softly. Courage is not measured by victory in battle, but by the heart you show in impossible moments. Today you have shown a heart greater than most. Let it guide you always. Evan felt a strange weight lift from his chest. The fear, the uncertainty, the endless running, all of it suddenly seemed worth it. For Leary, he would walk into danger again and again. For Leary, he had found a new purpose. As the queen stepped back, the wind carrying the distant echoes of battle, Evan held Leary close. She whispered again, You. My hero? Evan smiled faintly. I'm no hero, he said. Just someone who keeps his promises. And in that moment, surrounded by the mighty warriors of an empire he had fought against all his life, he realized something profound. Courage, honor, and compassion were stronger than war. And sometimes, one human could change the fate of an entire world. Leary rested her head against his chest, and Evan knew that this was only the beginning. A new journey awaited, a journey where he would stand as protector, bridge, and symbol, carrying hope for both humans and Vetheri alike. Evan stood at the edge of the valley, holding Leary's small hand in his. The queen's words still echoed in his mind. You are no longer our enemy. You are a guardian. The wind carried the distant sounds of war. But here, in this strange quiet, Evan felt something he had not felt in years. Possibility. He looked down at Leary. Her silver eyes reflected trust, hope, and something else. Something that made his chest tighten. She had survived explosions, fires, and enemy patrols. She had clung to him, small and fragile, and yet somehow she had carried her own courage with her. Human, she whispered, her tiny voice trembling. You. Stay with us? Evan knelt, bringing his face close to hers. He could feel her heartbeat against his palm. If I stay, he said softly, I protect you. That's all I want. She smiled faintly, relief washing over her features. Then, we safe? Yes, he said, squeezing her hand. Safe. Even as he spoke, his mind raced. Staying with the Vetheri meant leaving everything he knew, Earth, his friends, the people who had fought beside him. It meant trusting an enemy he had spent his whole life fighting. But the thought of leaving Leary, letting her face danger alone, was unbearable. He had promised her safety, and a promise, Evan knew, was stronger than any war. Queen Sereth approached, her presence calm and commanding. Do you understand, human? This is not a simple choice. You may never return home. You may never see your world again. And yet, I offer you trust, honor, and a place here with my daughter. Evan took a deep breath. His hands were rough, calloused from battle, but they shook slightly as he held Leary close. He looked up at the queen. I understand, he said. And I accept. I will protect her. Not for you, not for the Empire, but for her. The queen's silver eyes softened, a hint of respect breaking through her regal sternness. Then that is your path, Evan Hawley. From this moment, you are more than a soldier. You are a guardian. And through your courage, my daughter will live, and perhaps one day, peace may grow between our worlds. Leary leaned against him, small fingers gripping his jacket. Human. You my hero? Evan smiled faintly, brushing her hair from her face. I'm no hero, he said. I'm just keeping my promise. Night fell over the valley, and Evan found a quiet place for them to rest. The stars peeked through smoke clouds, faintly lighting the battlefield below. Evan looked at Leary sleeping beside him, breathing easy for the first time in days. He felt a strange peace, a calm he had not known in years of fighting. For the first time, he had a purpose beyond war. He thought of the humans who would call him a traitor, of the soldiers who had trusted him to follow orders, and of the family he had left behind. None of that mattered now. There was only one mission, one truth. Leary's life depended on him. Evan's mind wandered to the future. There would be challenges: Vethri politics, war, mistrust, and danger. But he would face them all. Not because he had to, not because he was commanded to, but because he chose to. He had found something in protecting a child that no metal or order could give, meaning. He pressed a hand to her small back, feeling her heartbeat calm. We'll face it all together, he whispered. You and me, Leary, no matter what comes. Morning came slowly, painting the valley in soft shades of purple and gold. Evan stood, carrying Leary once more, and looked at the horizon. The war below would rage on, but above it all, here in this quiet place, he had chosen his path. Human, once lost among soldiers and orders, had become something more: a bridge between worlds, a protector of innocence, and a symbol that courage and compassion could survive even in the darkest times. Leary opened her eyes and smiled sleepily. Human, you stay? Evan chuckled softly, brushing the smudge of dirt from her cheek. Yes, I stay, he said. I'm not going anywhere. And with that, the soldier who had risked everything to protect a child stepped into a new life, one without maps, one without certainty, but filled with purpose, trust, and hope. For the first time in a long time, Evan felt alive. Not as a soldier, not as a fighter, but as a guardian. And in that role, he would remain steadfast no matter the storms to come.